let's get right to it, guys. And by I mean unlikely suspect, I mean the most obvious looking guy ever.
A new plot to assassinate President Trump, and on the arson attack against Governor Josh Shapiro's home, where a man is accused of setting fire.
And that boy is a triple threat. This man unalived his parents, burned the governor's house down, or plotted on it, or I believe he was one of the people. And then third, attempted to, wrote a manifesto on how you wanted to assassinate the president and cause a political revolution, I believe. But let's get right into it, guys. This is going to get interesting. Make sure you guys double tap the screen and like the video.
To the official residence while the governor and his family slept. The disturbing cases are raising serious concerns about an environment where hatred and violence are being normalized and in some cases justified. Alexis McAdams is live in Harrisburg with the latest on the arson attack on Governor Shapiro. But first we go to Garrett Tenney for more on the plot to assassinate President Trump. Garrett.
Yeah, Kaylee, this story is wild. Prosecutors say 17-year-old Nikita Kasip killed his mom and stepdad back in February so that he could steal from them the money he needed to try to assassinate President Donald Trump. When police arrested the teen, he had $14,000 in cash, jewelry, pictures on his phone of his stepdad's debit and credit cards, along with his stepdad's bank account information. The plan, according to the FBI, was to use a drone with explosives to kill the president and...
Nah. Nah, because you know what's so scary about that? I remember I was listening to Alex Jones, and Alex Jones warned, and there's next going to be a possible drone attack on Trump. And I'm just like, bro, drone attack. And then, the drones in New Jersey popped up, and I was like, oh, shit. And now that got averted, and they kind of capped about it and said, oh, no, these were government-approved, drone flights. Yeah, whatever. But now we got this guy pretty much saying, yeah, I was going to go take a drone to the president. Like, yo, we got to watch these drones, apparently. This drone technology is getting out of hand.
Spark a political revolution in the U.S. Court documents state Kasip appears to have written a manifesto calling for the assassination of the president of the United States. He was in touch with other parties about his plan to kill the president and overthrow the government of the United States. Investigators say the teen identified himself as a follower of a neo-Nazi cult that advocates using violence and terrorism to overthrow governments, and he had already paid in part for a drone and explosives to do just that.
God damn.
Other messages found on his...
Hold on. The neo-Nazi group? I mean, what is it? Know what? It makes sense. We're talking about some type of neo-Nazi group. I mean, that's against this whole Jewish agenda. Then I can see why they want Trump gone. I can see that.
His phone suggests that he was getting at least some guidance and support from others who claimed to be from abroad and spoke Russian. In several messages, the teen allegedly...
And they say the Russians don't like Trump. So here we go. How long will I need to be high before I will be moved to Ukraine? It's Ukraine. This is a Ryan Roth situation. Yes, just like the last assassin, he wanted to take out Trump because of his stances on Ukraine, because he didn't want Ukraine to win the war. And this seems to be the same thing. So we got radicals for Ukraine in America. We got people who would want to see American soldiers die just to try to take Ukraine back from Russia. This is insanity. But here we are, though. So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to get a normal job and have a normal life, even if it's found out what I did. Oh, this man was living a fucking fairy tale. Like, really? Really? 1 to 2 months, you think we aren't going to find your ass? 1 to 2 months. You think you're going to get up to Ukraine in that time? Please, we're going to find you.
He wrote, how long will I need to hide before I will be moved to Ukraine? 1 to 2 months? And then, so while in Ukraine, I'll be able to get a normal job and have a normal life, even if when it's found out what I did? This investigation is still very much ongoing. We will likely continue to learn more ahead of his next court appearance, which is on May 7th. Kaylee?
Man.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagna.
May 7th, when we're going to find out more about this guy if they don't, unalive him in the jail or anything. Wow, like that. I ain't doing wild like that. But all right, guys, let's get into the next guy. To the next little story about him, which is a bit strange. All right, let's go. Praises Adolf Hitler and Manifesto. Oh, Lord.
A 17-year-old Wisconsin teenager, Nikita Kasap, has been charged with killing his mother and stepfather in what federal investigators allege was a calculated plan to obtain the financial resources and autonomy necessary to assassinate U.S. President Donald Trump. Kasap was arrested on February 28th in Waukene, Kansas, after authorities discovered the bodies of his mother, Tatiana Kasap, 35, and stepfather, Donald Mayer, 51, at their Waukesha home, about 17 miles southwest of Milwaukee. The arrest came after Mayer's mother requested a welfare check, citing an inability to contact the family and noting Kasap's unexplained absence from school for 2 weeks. According to an unsealed federal warrant and newly released court documents, Kasap was influenced by extremist ideology, with investigators linking him to a neo-Nazi group called the Order of Nine Angels. A manifesto found on Kasap's phone contained anti-Semitic content, praise for Adolf Hitler, and instructions for constructing bombs. By getting...
So, we expected to go to Ukraine off the supporting of Adolf Hitler, neo-Nazis, and if it just makes sense. I'm going to tell you why it makes sense, because like I say, Trump is pro-Israel, neo-Nazis hate Jews, so I see where this aligns.
Getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring in some chaos, Kasap wrote. The FBI warrant, unsealed on Friday, states, Kasap appears to have written a manifesto calling for the assassination of the President of the United States. He was in touch with other parties about his plan to kill the president.
Make sure to like the video, guys. Let's go ahead and double tap that screen. Appreciate the support, guys. This is going to be a great live. Let's go.
President and overthrow the government of the United States. Kasap also paid, at least in part, for a drone and explosives that he planned to use in an attack, according to the documents, which were filed in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Wisconsin. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump survived 2 assassination attempts. In July 2024, at an outdoor rally in Pennsylvania, dramatic photos emerged of a defiant and bloodied Trump surviving the attack. Donald Trump survived his second assassination attempt on September 15, 2024, when Secret Service thwarted an armed man hiding at a Trump golf course in Palm Beach, Florida.
Was there a central communications center in place?
Yes, there were. That was by the Butler Emergency Services Unit.
And typically, was the Secret Service? Did they have a person on the scene, a decision maker on the scene in case an emergency happened?
I believe that there were a Secret Service agent responsible for the scene. However, they were not, to my knowledge, co-located at the command center itself.
And so I want to make clear. So who was present in the communications command center that might have made decisions for Secret Service?
Secret Service, on my understanding, is that the information that was gathered by the command center, which would have been being operated by the Butler Emergency Services Unit and the commander in that capacity. He was responsible for relaying that information to a point of contact he had, and my understanding was that it was over a cell phone as opposed to in-person communications.
Is that normal to have a cell phone communication, or is there usually a body there that can make a decision?
In most security postures and events that I've been part of for these types of events, there is someone actually physically co-located for that reason. Due to the loss of cell phone service, which we experienced that day, a possible loss of radio communications that day. It's a very robust and fail-proof way to communicate because of the level of importance that's needed.
What the hell?
Did you, let's put it this way, were radios and communication implements offered to Secret Service by the local operators?
They were, yes.
And what was the form of the communication?
The form of communication would be some type of encrypted law enforcement style radio.
And do you know, did the Secret Service avail themselves of that? Did they obtain those radios?
I believe they were offered, but I do not believe they were taken.
So they did not utilize the preferred mechanisms of communication that was offered to them.
That's correct.
Let's talk timeline for a second. So if we look at this timeline, it indicates to us, I'll go 5:10, at 5:10 p.m., the shooter is identified as a suspicious person near the AGR building. Does that sound right to what you're understanding of the timeline?
Yes, sir.
And so at least some point, somebody had seen him by 5:10 p.m. That's an hour before the shooting. They adjudicated he was suspicious. And in testimony before the committees of Congress, they indicated to us that, when I say they, I'm talking Cheadle, Rowe, and Ray, the directors and interim directors of Secret Service and FBI. They indicated to us that there's a distinction between a suspicious person and a threat. And so you have a suspicious individual, you have a threat, there's an interim category as well. What's that interim category?
I mean, a lot of people would see a suspicious person as a threat, but you know, that's just normal people, I guess.
In our line of communications from a SWAT point of view and from a tactical point of view, our escalation of people that we encounter starts out as a suspicious person, then goes to a person of interest, and then from that level upgrades to what we refer to as a threat. And each one of those warrant a different response.
So the actual shooting takes place right about 6:11 p.m. So an hour elapses. How soon after the first identification of the shooter, which is at 5:10 p.m., did you? Before we get there, let's lay the foundation.
I already know how shady the details of that are. Well, of our man Thomas Crooks, but there's been honestly an update on our man. Well, not our man, but this loon, Ryan Ralph. So let's get into it. Because, yeah, at least there's talking about him. I mean, Thomas Crooks must have been the most wild one, or the most government-funded one, because we ain't heard nothing about him. But then again, he was the closest to taking out Trump.
Tonight, there's new information about the second attempt on President Trump's life during last year's presidential campaign.
Ryan Ruth was arrested on a Florida golf course when a Secret Service agent spotted the muzzle of his rifle in the bushes. Fox's Griff Jenkins has more from Washington.
In a motion filed Monday, the government says 1 month prior to Ryan Ruth's alleged attempt last September to assassinate President Trump at his Palm Beach golf course, Ruth tried to purchase a rocket-propelled grenade or anti-aircraft missile from an associate he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons.
God damn, hold on. What did he do?
Ruth's alleged attempt last September to assassinate President Trump at his Palm Beach golf course, Ruth tried to purchase a rocket-propelled grenade or anti-aircraft missile.
God damn, he was gonna blow up the damn scene. Okay, so yeah, you're right. Trump was in man, he didn't even have to get to the next hole, bro. Just had to launch it in the right distance, and he'd have got the guy. So yeah. Huh, who knew? I thought he just had a regular gun. They're talking about this man had a rocket launcher.
From an associate he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. Communicating through an encrypted messaging app, Ruth allegedly asked his associate to, quote, send me an RPG or Stinger and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine. He sent the associate an image of Trump's campaign plane, writing, Trump's plane, he gets on and off daily. And the government argues Ruth signaled his intent when he wrote, I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected. The two also discussed Thomas Crooks' attempt on Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania in July 2024, with Ruth writing, quote, I wish. The filing does not identify who Ruth was communicating with or whether it was actually a Ukrainian with military connections or anyone he met when he traveled to Ukraine in 2022 in a failed attempt to join a volunteer fighting force. DOJ lawyers also allege Ruth attempted unsuccessfully on multiple occasions to purchase a military-grade .50 caliber rifle, and the motion outlines Ruth's communication with a human smuggler in Mexico regarding an escape plan. In a separate motion filed yesterday, Ruth's attorneys are seeking to dismiss.
So the first one wanted to escape out to Ukraine. The other one wanted to escape up through Mexico back to Ukraine. Ukraine. I ain't gonna lie, I got some answering to do. Why are both the assassination on Trump? Now, 2 out of 3 leading back to you guys. What's up with that? And are y'all that mad that we're no longer supporting you guys in this war? In this losing war? Like, what's going on with Ukraine at this point? Because 2 out of 3? 2 out of 3. Are you serious?
2 of the 5 total charges against their client relating to firearms possession, citing Second Amendment rights. The trial is set to begin in September. Meanwhile, it's been a month since President Trump called for a full accounting of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania from the FBI, but no indication of when we can expect a report.
Because MK Ultra got his hands all over it. That's one of the reasons. But all right, now let's get back to these tariffs debate. What our man Scott Bessett.
So you've come here.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, they're laying out their plan pretty well. The way they're moving, I see what